So I'm here, my name is Chris Cumicle. I'm resident of the Comox Valley for the last 22 years, my entire life. And I'm here to just talk to you about the proposal on page 77. And I'd like you to reject it, actually. Because other municipalities have been going around and getting the 1 kilometer rule for BCBQA wines in grocery stores. And that's actually a very good idea. Because right now we've got so many liquor stores right next to grocery stores, and it seems like it's just, when you have the sale of wine in there, you're going to have people going in and just basically giving money to somebody who takes the money out of a little community. We've got just multitudes of, or well, we don't have multitudes, but we've got a lot of liquor stores here, and it just seems like if we go totally all out, we might lose some of our personality in the process of just being a big free company kind of business. And my other talking point is, sorry, I don't talk too much. My other talking point is kind of implications. I mean, I know there's a few recovering alcoholics in my life, and when they walk to the liquor store, they don't need to be bombarded by wine labels that are especially fancy nowadays. And it just seems like the temptation is already there with grocery stores being beside the liquor store. But when we put the liquor into the grocery stores, it kind of blurs the lines a little bit more. I don't know if anybody else is affected by this, but it means a lot to me when somebody decides to, get healthier and make the better choices in their own lives. So I mean, do we have a time limit or?
10 minutes.
Yeah. I should probably get on my phone for my notes. But hey, excuse me. It's really just the fact that it's going to be, right now it's BC, like BC wines, so BQA. So that's Ditcher's Quality Assurance or something or other. And that just opens up the door to everything else. From hard liquor, from ciders, beer, everything. Because there's already trade challenges from California. So if you think that it's just going to be BQA wines, it might take 7 years, but it's going to be there. And the trades are out, and it just seems like it opens the door to everything else. And yeah, that's kind of my point. Is that I feel like our community could use just a little bit more of money in ourselves instead of going to the pockets of a fellow who owns a huge yacht. So I reinforce I would propose that you reject this zoning plan, and maybe we can rewrite it to be 1 kilometer rule, because I mean there's a few grocery stores that could have it, but they'd be outside of the liquor stores and such. So thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. There may be questions.
Oh yeah. Questions, please.
So just with the 1 kilometre rule, you mean not within 1 kilometre of an existing liquor store
Exactly.
or wine?
Yes, exactly that. So the 1 kilometer, say we got John's Independent with that other liquor store in front of it, John's wouldn't be able to get it basically.
Without just quality food.
Yeah.
Quality Foods can't do it currently because there's, I think, they're about 20 meters inside the 1 kilometer distance.
Yeah.
So, essentially the province has already legislated that BQA wine can be on the shelves, and we're trying to, I guess, accommodate the possibility that somebody could acquire a license and put it in the store to do that. So there may be other comments from planning as we go forward. But Chris, are you representing any particular
So we're representing the union, the BC Government Employees Union.
Okay, and that's, I assume, the union that is involved with the BC liquor stores?
Technically, yeah.
Well, I'm assuming that you're representing that, or those employees that may work in that
Yes.
environment. Yes.
I'm trying to keep brothers and sisters having jobs that can keep them in the valley.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation, sir.
Thanks for your time.
All right, and we have Mr. Grenier here regarding the rezoning application at 1879 Comox Avenue. And I'm not sure if you're here to make a presentation or to answer any questions that come up.
Yeah, not much. I just, guess I'm Ty Grenier, and I just wanted to put a face to the application. and see if there were any questions that you guys had about the
All right, well, this is a matter that will be coming forward later in the meeting, and it's related to a two-lot, single-family subdivision. And I don't know if council has any questions for Mr. Ringy at this time. Yes?
I just have one. Was your intent, if this subdivision plan were to go ahead, was it your intent to build something on that other lot, or were you just going to have the lot for sale?
We're not totally sure I want to build. There's definitely intention to build. If someone offered me enough for the lot, I guess, at the time, then that may change. But the intent is to build.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, we'll come to your application later in the meeting.
Do you know about how long or whether there are more
I'm
questions?
gonna, there might be questions then, but mostly for staff. I'm gonna guess about half an hour or so. All right, so we'll move on to minutes of meetings for approval, the November 16th regular council meeting minutes.
Move. Second.
On approval then, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And then the committee of the whole meeting minutes of November 23rd for receipt.
Move receipt. Second.
On receipt then, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. There's, right, where did we get to there? Get back to where I was on the page. There's no committee reports, we can manage report for receipt. Receipt then, all in favor? Motion's carried. Possibly as early as tomorrow, we'll hear about the announcement of Fixed Wing Search and Rescue. That's the rumor.
And there's an email that just went out tomorrow at 11 o'clock at 888 Wing. There's going to be.
Yeah, the announcement, from what I gather, will be made in Trenton,
Right.
and then there'll be an event locally to deal with some of the questions that may come from the media. So.
Best kept secret in Canada.
Yeah.
But let's wait till we hear it.
Yes.
Since it is in Trenton.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
And anything further to update on the Marina project?
No, it's progressing. The wood is starting to go on the building today.
Okay.
So it's moving along.
Okay, if there's nothing further on that, then we're going to bring back the issue of the letter of support for Metroplex. The presentation at Committee of the Whole a couple weeks ago from the Comox Valley Farmers Institute, and my understanding is they're looking for a letter of support in principle to allow them to proceed with further fundraising and other efforts in this regard, without necessarily committing us to financial.
I would move we do that. Yeah,
Any questions about that? Go ahead.
Just clarify the letter of support and what's the intentions are and how it will hold our council to anything.
It'll just be a letter of support in principle for the project as a proposal. I don't know if there's anything else we would say on that. I wouldn't commit as financially gain. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Not surprised.
Yes, and the regional district passed a letter of support too. We passed it very generally in principle within the Comox Valley because of the process of we have ongoing at the site to do with the master plan.
Ah, right. Okay. Okay, so anything further? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Will be brought by the civil letter. And then also unfinished business regarding the Transition Society, and there's a recommendation from staff that the $30,000 that was otherwise committed to the Recovery Center be redirected to the Transition Society for their project.
With that? Yeah,
Second.
The discussion on that, and that, my understanding is that project has received funding commitments from BC Housing. I think that was the issue with the Recovery Center, that their project. That's correct. So the likelihood of this going ahead is pretty high. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, so I believe that brings us to special reports. So I prepared a year review report. I don't intend to read it out. It's there on the agenda. Just a review of the past year's efforts and initiatives.
Thank you.
Just a good update on where we were in 2016. Of course, we've engaged already in the beginning stages of our strategic plan update, so that'll come back to us hopefully next week. We're hoping still. Yeah. So at the committee of the whole.
So you want receipt of this? Or?
Sure.
I'll move receipt of that.
Second.
Any questions on that? All those in favor? Motion's carried. And go ahead.
Are we talking about the appointments as well?
No, not yet.
When we're doing this? Okay.
Just the year in review.
Right.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll deal with the council committee appointments. So that is the next item. Council committee appointments are done annually. And of course, we also deal with things like the acting mayor schedule, auditor appointments, signing authorities, and so on. So we have a series of resolutions based on the report and recommendations from the CAO. So the first one would be the appointments to board external committees as outlined in table 1 of the report, subject to any other changes.
And so moved.
Second.
Move and second. So are there any changes to any of that? Councilor Adams?
Yeah, just amendments. I was contacted, there's communication between BIA, Councilor Grant and myself, Councilor McKinnon and myself, about alternating so me going on to the BIA.
Okay.
And Councilor McKinnon was in favor of that, and I'll accept that.
And him being the alternate.
I'll just
Yeah.
speak to that if I could, Your
Sure.
Worship. Just
That'd be great.
quickly is that one of the intent of posing this is that there'll be some rotation so that councillors have a better understanding of the BIA and a good relationship. And I support that and suggested that at a couple of meetings ago. And in reflection, it looks like they have endorsed that. And Councillor Arnett has taken interest and was contacted, and I support that move. I think it would that I would serve as the alternate or be prepared to, or
Sure.
Councillor Grant, I know, was interested and could serve as an alternate, and I'm happy with either one of those scenarios.
And the meetings are all open meetings, so anybody that wants to go can go.
So at this point, we would amend this to reflect Councillor Arnott as the primary appointment with Councillor McKinnon, and presumably Councillor Grant, you can stay on there as an alternate as well. There's no restrictions.
Two of them.
Right, is that suitable? And I just note as well, another change, perhaps that wasn't reflected, at least verbally, was that Councillor McKinnon has agreed to take over as the primary contact on the Vancouver Island Regional Library, and Councillor Mark Grant and Councillor Price will be alternates. So those, other than that, those were the only changes that I'm aware of.
So do we want to move an amendment, or are we good?
I think we should, CEO's made notes, and that we should move this list as amended.
Move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing that, all those in favor? Motion's carried. That covers all the regional district, sewer commission, et cetera, right, CEO?
Yes.
The second recommendation that needs a motion is that council approve the acting mayor schedule as noted in the report.
Second.
On that, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Also, that Myers Norris Penny LLP be appointed as auditors for the municipality for the year 2017.
Move that if they change their name back to Myers Norris.
MNP. Yes. Okay, is there a seconder?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed, motion's carried. Signing authorities for 2017 be designated to Mayor Paul Ives, Councillor Ken Grant, Councillor Norman Swift, CEO Richard Cannigan, Director of Finance Donald Request, and Deputy Corporate Administrator Shelley Russell.
Move that. Second.
All those in favor? Opposed, motion is carried. And then finally, that the 2017 regular council and committee of the whole meeting schedule be approved as outlined in Schedule A. The report and staff be authorized to publish notice of that.
Move. Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. So just of note, there'll be no meeting on the 4th of January. I don't think we've typically had one in the first week of January. We committee the whole then on the 11th. And of course, other meetings as scheduled. All right, so that deals with those housekeeping items. So we then have regional district meeting minutes for receipt.
Move receipt.
That's from the Solid Waste Board, Hospital, and Regional District. And let's move to the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. That moves us on to bylaws, and the Comox Water Rates Regulation Bylaw amendments here for adoption.
Move adoption.
Second.
Adoption, any questions, comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And then bylaw 1851, which is here for first, second, and third reading, is the fire prevention and regulation bylaw.
Move.
Second.
So first, second, and third reading has been moved, and this, just to refresh, is to establish minimum training standards for the Comox Fire Rescue personnel. And this is a follow-up to resolutions passed in June regarding adoption of the Officer Fire Commissioner's playbook with regards to fire training levels and declaring our service level as full service. With that in mind then, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, moving along. The longest resolution ever to authorize corporate Visa cards.
I'll move that.
I'm not reading it out right now.
Second.
So that sets a cap at $35,000, so can't get too far. And others. Okay, so moved and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Housekeeping, review and renewal of the SPCA Kennel Service Agreement. CO's provided a report, and this is for a 3-year contract for the SPCA, which would end December 31, 2019.
Move.
Moved and second. And the background on this is that for quite some time, since the early 2000s, BCSPCA has provided animal control services, and we are basically just using them as a pound service, is that correct?
Correct. So
So anybody who's got trouble with their dogs and complaints related to that, we deal with that, their bylaws. Okay. And so basically that's the fee schedule set out in here, and any other comments?
No, the increases they've proposed are reasonable and more than something like this. Any recommendation?
All right, so do we move in a second that?
Yeah. Yes.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And yes, okay, so coming to page 77, the rezoning application for liquor and grocery stores.
First and second reading.
So moved and
Second.
Any discussion? Councillor Price.
And we are going to go to public hearing, so we will have a chance to hear from people, and I think that it's a movement in the right direction, and whether that 1 kilometre rule is something that the town citizens think is important, we will certainly hear at the public hearing. But I think the issues about people going into grocery stores and being exposed to liquor, it's my understanding that it will be a separate room. Is that correct?
Not necessarily.
I thought it was.
Separate
There's,
checkout line.
there's two different ways of doing it. Maybe our planner.
It's a full liquor store. It has to be in a separate area, or store within a store model. Otherwise, it's wine on shelves. So it's just wine that will be on the shelves within the liquor store. And there's also, they have regulations on training of staff with handling on it.
So just to clarify here in relation to what we're passing here, we're talking about essentially zoning to create a new permitted use category of grocery store, which would allow liquor sales, and would add that use to existing zones that currently permit retail sales, and so on and so forth. And the minimum floor area, and that would be secondary to the sale of food, and maximum of 20% of that floor area. And so there's only really, my understanding, is it 2 parcels? Or no, there's more than 2 parcels. But are we specifically zoning it for the quality foods and the other, not extra foods, but John's Independent, or are we having a broader possible application?
Broader possible application. So the area attachment 1A shows where there's retail stores are currently allowed, and in the shaded shows where grocery stores would be permitted.
Right.
And then in terms of immediate impact, i.e. where we currently have a grocery store, the impact, potential impact would be on two places, John's Independent and Quality Foods.
And how does the 1 kilometer radius impact our decision making?
1 kilometer radius would apply to the store within a store model. But it doesn't apply to EQA license locations.
The wine on shelves. Okay. So in other words, Quality Foods, although they're within 1 kilometer of another licensed establishment, could have wine on the shelves if they apply for it.
And it's, I mean, the province has made it very clear in their recent changes is they will change their regulations as they see fit. And if a community has concerns, they should be using their zoning powers to regulate it. So, so for example, in terms of a straight liquor store, the town currently would remain regulated as site-specific, regardless of 1 kilometer or anything else. So if an additional site were to be proposed, there would have to be a rezoning proposal come forward to council.
So essentially what we're saying is that if this goes through the final adoption, we would essentially be permitting by zoning the possibility of those 2 grocery stores and perhaps others who may meet those area requirements to have wine on shelves. Okay. But not necessarily a store within a store because that is already regulated by our zone.
No, and the store within the store.
Oh,
So
okay.
grocery stores, even the store within the store model, and the wine on shelves would be shaded, those parcels shown shaded in, on attachment 1A.
But to have a store within a store, do they not have to acquire a license from somebody?
Yes.
And in that case, the 1 kilometer rule would apply.
Yes, 1 kilometer rule applies to the store within the store.
So
Yes.
practically speaking then, for both Quality Foods and John's Independent, that would happen.
Currently.
All right. That's what I.
Yeah, it's
We know that.
I'll read it in the paper.
You guys can figure that out and let us know what to say.
Well, obviously the BC liquor store is across the hallway from John's Independent, and as I mentioned, the Quality Foods falls just inside the 1 kilometer radius from the Kimberley.
Right.
So really all we're talking about here at this point practically is wine on shelves. All right, well, we'll see where it goes. So first and second reading, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
I'll move that we schedule a public hearing.
Thank you.
second.
There's a second on that, and when might that be? Planner?
We'll be looking probably the second council meeting in January.
Okay. All right, so more to follow on that. All those in favor of the public hearing being scheduled? Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, we'll see where that goes. And where are we at here? Sorry.
Rezoning application.
Thank you. Just trying to get back to that page. Not working. There we go. All right, so now we have the rezoning application for 1879 Beaumont Avenue.
Move first and second reading.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Just seems to me that it fits within our identification of our downtown, and this fits with what we're trying to do, so look forward to hear what the public has to say at the public hearing.
Go ahead, Councilor.
I had a question for the planner, if I'm understanding this correctly. The road currently is 18.3 meters, is what we have.
Hold on a second.
How much that?
24. Oh, I see, currently. Comox Ave says 24.3.
It's going to increase to 20.
Yeah.
I'm going to
With
increase
the
so
extension.
with the dedication. Right.
So for Comox Avenue, we're currently at, no, we'd be currently at slightly below that. So,
From 25 meters to 24.
because the 25 meters,
join with this. Maybe I'll go there and then you can help me wind it back. I know there's the concern that, and it's in the correspondence regarding the curb and so on across the street. So my question was, if we were going to get some extra roadway in there, is there any ability to alter the roadway so that it increases moves the center line over?
To be honest, I don't know, because what's happening is, if we go to a 25-meter road dedication, which in this case 24.3, that's to allow for additional road width on arterials, so additional lanes. Where any future widening would occur would also depend on where the existing crown is, or center line of the pavement, which doesn't have to necessarily be in the center of the road dedication. So by increasing our dedication with the additional 3 meters, it gives us the ability to look at, and I would say in the future, if we were doing a realignment or reconstruction of that road, then we could look at moving it within that dedication. But just automatically, does that mean that we can adjust the existing road to the south? I mean, for one, it's only a very short piece, so we still don't have it on the neighboring properties to the east.
Okay, so basically, I was just wondering if we could increase that rate somehow so it would alleviate the problem, the other problem.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
future widening, which would obviously entail the whole width of the whole length of
Yeah.
that street. So.
Thank you.
All right, so any other questions, comments? Seeing none, first and second reading, all in favor?
I'll move that we schedule a public hearing.
All right. Same thing, question-wise, are we planning that here for the council meeting? We've got it at the stairs, so I was wondering whether that was happening there or at the council meeting. Planner?
Sorry, I've spoken for road dedication. Almost everything is.
Well, you say the public hearing's going to be scheduled and be located at the stair.
Yes.
The last one we're having at the council chambers. I'm just wondering if this is necessary to have that here at the stair or whether it's just going to be here.
No, we could have them both.
Okay. So with that modification, public hearing then, moved and seconded. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Alrighty then. So that'll come to us in January here. Okay, so let's have that working very well. So next items, whoops, I'll right by it. So I believe the next item is the regional composting facility.
I'll move that we send the letter.
That's the follow-up. Oh, that's right.
Okay, so moving to send a letter to the regional district, encouraging the regional district to consider both communities in Comox Valley and Camberville when contemplating the location of our organics processing facility.
Maybe we hear from our 2 reps on that.
Let's move and seconded, so we'll turn it over to Councillor Margaret and perhaps Councillor Swift.
Great, thank you. First of all, I'd like to share some brief facts with everybody about the history of our compost pilot project. It's been 3.5 years in the making, that pilot project. We use a GORE cover system, which has been proving very successful. As a result of that success, there's no odor and it produces a Class A compost, which is very important. There's trained staff up there and the facility is in place. And also, in 2015, we collected 1,683 tons of organics, which of course is yard waste and kitchen waste combined, which produced 220 tons of finished products. So, in other words, I guess I can say that the pilot project thus far has been proven very successful. But, however, our CAO very astutely identified that we have a very important issue with regards to the location of our primary organics facility. Trucks carried solid waste from Campbell River to Pigeon Lake would not be able to haul organics back, thus creating a transportation problem. And of course that does eventually translate into additional costs to the Comox residents. So, my opinion, considering all these things, that the CAO's recommendation that we consider both communities when contemplating the location processing facility is exactly the right one.
All right. Councillor Swift, anything to add?
Well, when this item came to the table at the bigger board, Campbell River, the city of Campbell River had already applied for the composting, and then it had been rejected, so this was an attempt to reapply and get a grant. And a more in-depth study had been done at that time, which kind of leaned toward the organics actually being in the Comox Valley rather than the Campbell River. But in spite of that, it passed with quite a majority, thinking Campbell River was the way to go. And I think it was because they were ready to go with their application, and the idea was that it would be a cost saving if they got the grant and so on. At the same time, I just think it makes more sense to have our organics in our own neighborhood. And I know some of the smaller communities are quite keen on doing their own initiatives, similar to what goes on some of the islands. So I would really, I mean, if it ends up being a regional facility in Campbell River, of course we'll have to support it, but I'm really pleased to see that we're suggesting that both communities be considered. So we won't know about this grant until March. So whether Campbell River gets this grant or not. So yeah, I'm pleased with the recommendation as it says.
Well, yeah, and then they won't be getting a letter of support for their grant applications unless they, yeah, so that might kill it right there. Yep.
Yes, and do we use the organic byproduct as the town?
Yes, we do.
So we must
Parks
use-
Department uses it and they find it to be of superior quality.
Okay, so that would be a big loss to us not to get that organic product.
Yes, but at the same time, if it were to be mixed in with the biosolids, it's not a product that we would necessarily be distributing in the same manner that we're using right now. So there is a benefit to us using the material we're generating at Pigeon Lake.
I understand we are producing more than we can actually use.
Yes,
Even at
but-
this small level.
But at this stage, it's just being offered back to the municipality of Cumberland and Comox for use, not for the public within the communities.
No. I believe it's been opened up to other municipalities that there may not have been any taken. It would be kind of a big procedure to come down to get it. Yeah. Okay.
Just out of curiosity, do we get it for free as a byproduct? This is exciting. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right, so move on to the second item of correspondence. This is from the BC Cycling Coalition, looking for a letter of support for their grant application. And they provided a sample letter. And council wishing to support that, we could change it, of course, to reflect California.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know, maybe other questions, so.
I would move that.
Second, any discussion? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, how much participation would we as the town have in this? I wouldn't want the BC Cycling Coalition and then our local to come and put a plan together and then drop it on us and say, here's what we're planning on doing. I know it kind of talks about that in here, but I think we've got some specific areas that we could really focus on if this were the case. And I think of the Lazo Road piece, and I did speak with Director Nickel, and he is in favor of sort of doing something there when it gets to the Area B piece in there too. So I don't know if we need to get really specific with what we want to do, but I'd really like that, you know, that we be, if they're going to do something, that they come and talk to us and find out what our thoughts are on it too.
Yeah, I had a phone call from Mr. Campbell a few weeks ago after we sent this letter. And I told them really the same thing, essentially that we're already working on various initiatives. This is essentially a lobby group at a higher level, and they're, I think they also promote their stuff through Facebook. I've seen their posts. And I think they're just essentially lobbying the Ministry of Transportation and other groups that may be willing to help support that lobby to get more active transportation. So I think our projects will still carry on, and I know that at a staff level, I have been discussing with Ministry of Highways, local staff level, some of their projects, and that'll be ongoing. And Emily McCray and I have talked about that, and those things will still carry on. This is a sort of a higher level funding. I think they want to have their coalition carry on and host a workshop and see where they can move things forward.
Okay.
And they may participate in maybe ICC, UBCM, and other conferences. So they're applying for grants from organizations such as the Real Estate Foundation. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. I don't know if there was a particularly time-sensitive nature to that, but we seem to be quite anxious. We'll get the letter this week, it'd be great. All right, correspondence from the Strata Council at 1876 Comox Avenue.
So I would move receipt of that and that we fix their driveway, whatever problem that is, at the most cost-effective method that we can.
And I'll second that.
All right, well, that leaves it pretty open-ended, but
Yeah.
CAO, turn it over to you.
Well, if to follow through on the recommendation or the motion that's currently on the table, the notes indicated, going back to the May report the engineer provided, we're looking at a cost of between $6,500 to $9,500 is the estimate that we received at the time. Just to put a number to it, and something that we would put into the financial plan for next year.
I guess the one concern I had is the reference to the handy dart. To my understanding, handy dart is obviously a smaller form of bus service, and to my knowledge, it's not necessarily something that drives right to your door. Presumably you can get to the street, it doesn't necessarily have to come up that driveway. So perhaps in the past it did, but that's not necessarily something that would have to happen. Do you have any information from BC Transit on that?
We spoke with the regional district to get some information related to this, and they suggest that we should not be following through on the recommendation that Mr. Richards provided, that it's perfectly acceptable for the handy dart to stop on the street and assist the passenger back and forth to the building that they reside in. So it's, they understand that there are limitations to what can be done, and as I mentioned, we don't support that we proceed with amending driveway standards.
And I guess the other thing that may be worth refreshing or highlighting is the nature of the work that was done and what the purpose of that work was in terms of pedestrian safety.
Yes, Your Worship, when the Comox Ellis pedestrian crossing was put in, and I believe it was put in at the request of many of the residents within the development that have provided us with this letter, that the pedestrian refuge areas are there to shorten the distance to cross Comox Avenue, so it's there to enhance pedestrian safety. The converse side of that is that it makes it less vehicle friendly. And so that's what we have in this situation. You have, yes, it is a little more difficult to exit out of that driveway, but it, if you look at amending that, you are reducing the pedestrian safety at the same time.
Yeah, that would be part of my concern, having expended the funds to put in the crosswalk with the lighted safety feature on that, and then take out some of those curbs and so on would, in fact, perhaps jeopardize people crossing that crosswalk. So Anyway, that's just a possibility.
Well, I drove in and out of there several times over the the first time, so, see, you got all the kudos, you got the wrong brand, you see. No, just kidding, but, and, you know, I didn't really have any problem, I didn't hit the curb when I drove in and out of there, and I specifically did that to see if it would happen. But it seems to me that when we put that in, they didn't have the problem, and they seem to have the problem now. And in one sense, I guess we kind of caused that, whether it was at their request or not. I mean, what we're looking at here is to simply just lower that one little piece of curb when you turn out onto the street. It doesn't seem like it should be that big of a deal, and I wouldn't normally do this, except that we kind of put that in and we caused this issue, in my opinion anyway. So to fix it, I think would only be the right thing to do.
Okay. Councillor Arnott?
Yeah, two things. You know, last night I walked past there and I looked at it, and I know there's always more to an issue than perhaps we see, but to me it's a pie-shaped 3-foot by 5-foot section that would need to be taken out and redone. The cost seems quite high, but again, there's other circumstances, I'm sure. But as the CAO identified that it is a little more difficult to exit that driveway, and the fact that there's a crosswalk right there, to have that little handy dart bus stop, now you're blocking a crosswalk. So does it stop a car length before or after? You know, we've got some folks, sadly, who've got some health issues that, you know, where they're walking out in the rain. I think this is an item that we really need to address, and in addition to Councillor Grant's motion that we fix it, I think we need to have a time frame on this, and we can't just let it sit as the budget dictates. I think we need to get this addressed sooner rather than later.
Okay, well, it's not in the budget currently, so it would have to be something that we'd have to factor into our financial plan.
Yes, thank you. And for me too, the letter from Comox Valley Transit was not specifically about the handy dart, but bigger vehicles will go in there, and if the handy dart feels it's not safe coming out and it's a too difficult turn, it also means that larger vehicles could also have that.
What larger vehicles are you referring to?
Well, removal vans, and people have.
Oh, moving trucks?
That English is.
I suppose, yes.
And that has been an issue in the past,
Sure.
of course.
Sure. Personally, I don't think we should be changing this. I think we're following engineering practices here. We built a proper crosswalk, and if people have to do a little more care exiting that, take a little more time exiting that than perhaps they didn't have to do in the past. Yeah, it's a bit inconvenient perhaps, but I don't see that outweighing the safety of pedestrians. So the last thing I want to see happen here is we make these changes and then somebody gets run over in the crosswalk because somebody's burning out of there. And that exit is very close to that crosswalk, and I think it's very important to have those engineering safety features. So that's my 2 cents worth for not changing it. So anyway, any further discussion or comments?
I wish I was an engineer, because it seems
well, we
to
did have
me-
advice from our engineers in the previous
Yes.
reports, and they've indicated that these were built. This thing was built according to engineering standards.
And just to add to that, we do not design driveways for larger vehicles. They are designed for the passenger vehicle. So to have a moving truck, a garbage truck, a handy dart bus have to roll over a curb is not unusual. Or if they are having to make a 3-point turn exiting a driveway, a tighter driveway. That happens in our downtown core all the time with the larger delivery trucks. That's essentially standard practice, because otherwise we're designing our roads to a much wider standard and would require a significant amount more space. So that the design factors that we apply are not for those larger vehicles. And that's, we're not proposing to change our standards to accommodate that in the future.
In this particular case, sorry, I always forget.
No, you're
Oh, am I not
still on.
Okay, all right.
Here we go.
We got lots of time.
Is there no compromise here? I mean, because that is, when I tried to go down and made an effort to, excuse me, actually go over the bump, it's a big bump. Is there no way that it could even be softened somewhat so that when these vehicles have to come down? Because there are moving trucks, let's face it, about 16 residents live there, so there's obviously that kind of traffic happening. And should the circumstance be right, they may have to go over? Is there such a thing? Says my engineering degree?
Well, I think the May report pointed out, there is a solution, and that is going to, the cost estimate that goes with that is anywhere from $6,500 to $9,500 is what the engineers provided. Does it happen? It probably happens on a weekly basis when the garbage truck goes in and out of there and has to roll over that curb or do a 3-point turn or some means, perhaps temporarily going into the other lane to make the turn. It does happen. It will continue to happen. But if council's direction is to modify that curb, we will do it, and that's the cost that we have. It may come in less, but speaking to the time factor, this is not ideal construction season. We don't propose to get in there and rip everything apart in the wet and cold season. We'll wait till the construction window allows it. So that's...
Okay, Councillor Lemkin.
Yeah. I've heard delivery trucks bump, garbage trucks, but we got to remember who are in these vehicles. These are seniors that were moving in and out of that. And sure, a garbage truck and a delivery truck can go over a bump and it's not the end of the world, but these are people. These are our seniors that are in this truck. And I don't want to get on my soapbox here, but I think we're taking the wrong approach. Yeah, we're taking the wrong approach, and Councillor Grant has the motion out, and I think I strongly urge all councillors to vote in favor of Councillor Grant's motion.
Anything new to offer? Or just
Because I heard, garbage trucks go over bumps and make 3-point turns and delivery trucks, but we're talking about handy transit.
Well, no, the issue was brought up about other vehicles by another councillor, and the staff had responded to that, saying essentially what is true for everywhere in town is that we don't design every street for every possible eventuality. What we've done here is we put a crosswalk in for the betterment of pedestrian safety, and that has resulted in a slightly different configuration for their exit. It doesn't mean people can't get out of there safely. It doesn't mean that people are necessarily going over the curb. It means that people have to turn out there a little slower than perhaps they did in the past. And it's a change. And I don't necessarily think we should be doing that every time we come into something like this. This is a unique situation. If the crosswalk was further away, it would not be an issue.
Right.
But that crosswalk was put in after the fact, at the request of residents in that area. And I think that's something that's, if you're talking about missing the issue here, I think that's what's being missed. Councillor McKenna.
Well, I don't know if I can add something new, but I'll just say I'm not so sympathetic in that I'm looking at if pedestrian safety is compromised, that's in the total picture there, that's something I'm not sure I'm comfortable with. And also, does this set a precedent? Who next then? Do we look back and ignore engineering safety requirements that have been met by the town, I gather? I guess weighing the convenience for driving in and out, and I tried to drive out in my van, and yes, it takes some extra turns, and you have to be careful when you do it. But to compromise pedestrian safety over that, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
Right, anything further to add to the debate? If not, if you're ready for the question, it has been moved and seconded that now I got to get the wording because it's been 2 minutes.
The wording I have is that letter be received and the driveway be fixed in the most cost-effective manner possible.
Okay, all right. That sounds like sufficient direction to staff. If it passes, so all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. thank you for the discussion and the debates and the information, and we'll move forward through staff and the budget process. All right, so I believe that brings us to where we deal with, among other things, council reports.
Thank you, Council.
All right, so we'll move to council reports. So we're going to start with Councilor Arnott.
I have nothing of substance to add. However, what I would like to discuss is that as we move into the new year, that perhaps councillors can keep their points a little shorter, a little more to the point, and get things going a bit more. If we have anything of substance, and it'd be great to add it as a email mail into staff to have on a future item on the agenda. But we just found that we tend to be dragging on a lot for our staff report, or our council reports.
Okay, so when you reference to councillors making points, you're not talking about debating on other items, you're talking about reports.
Their reports and
from
what they've
members of
been
council.
correct, what they've been doing in the last week or two, and just to streamline it a little bit. Sure. We seem to go in ebbs and flows with this over councillors. I think you all have great things to say. I'm just saying this.
So you have nothing to report other than that?
No, and even that's a longer than ours.
Boy, if that's the standard.
Well, I will add just two comments. One is that has been brought up before, not just with this council, but previous councils, and it is a good reminder. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Secondly, that we do receive for example, minutes of the regional district meetings, so we don't necessarily need to go over all the details of that unless there's something earth-shaking. And then, of course, there is the fact that anything specific that is referred to as the regional district is put on the agenda. So, good point, and we'll move on to Councillor Margaret.
Sorry, I didn't mean
We're doing this alphabetical.
Just say nothing more.
Am I allowed to say thank you?
You can only use the word kudos once in your presentation.
I attended the seniors board meeting and was pleased to welcome Councillor McKinnon to that meeting as well as were the seniors that I've seen. Am I allowed to tell you that they made a lot of money at the pancake breakfast? Sure. Or is that a no? I attended the Comox Mall opening, and I was very sorry to have missed the tree lighting.
I did a few things. I did the tree lighting in the cold.
Sorry, you're doing it.
So bad.
Not too long anyway.
Send us a memo. Sir Congrats.
Yeah, so I showed up for the tree lighting on Saturday. Unfortunately, it was on Friday. So that's it. Margaret there. I also went to the mall, the revitalization of the mall opening, and I attended the water and sewer meetings on November 29th and the regional district meeting. And one of the highlights that came out of the regional district meeting was the cleanup of Forbidden Plateau Wood Park. They put some money towards that, and they've got a group that are going to go up there and start fixing that up and getting it back to its old glory, I guess, so that we can use it as a park. And other than that, we really heard a little bit about why we were still boiling our water, and beyond that, I'll give it to you.
Councillor McKinnon.
Okay, I'm not going to make an editorial comment about everyone, but there are events that we go to that I think are important that we mention, that we go to the events for those organizations and for members of the community. So many of us attended the Comox Valley, the Comox Fire Department's dinner and awards, attended the Senior Center board meeting, as alluded to by Councillor Grant. We also went through the strategic planning meeting with facilitator, former mayor of Central Saanich, Alison Halbrook, and that was a very fruitful exercise for the council, mayor and council, I believe, and staff. The Christmas tree lighting was well attended by community members and well organized by our BAA group. Attended a Vancouver Island Regional Library Board meeting in Nanaimo last week. Along with the mayor was at Highland Secondary, where they introduced their CPR, Bill of great or training equipment program there at Highland Secondary School in Comox. Homeless Coalition meetings, we've had a couple since the last meeting. Attended along with some councillors the CBRD City of Courtenay Award to Paralympian Byron Green. Very touching ceremony. The Bradenwood Affordable Housing announcement, the City of Courtenay, along with the mayor and others. Met with the new superintendent of schools, and amongst many topics discussed in town Comox issues and ideas. Comox Valley Multicultural Potluck Dinner. Attended last week representing the town. The opening of the new renovated library on Hornby Island with some members of the Vancouver. And the chamber mixer last night put on by the Chamber of Commerce here in Comox, and that was very well attended. And the mall opening, and finally I attended the Jingle Bell Run for the food bank on Sunday at Seal Bay Park, representing the town, and I did not end up in St. Joseph's Hospital. Thank you.
No broken bones? Good.
That concludes my
Councillor Brennan.
I'll be brief. I attended 2 days of UBCM executive meetings in Vancouver, the Comox Archives and Museum Society board meeting, looking for having a new display opening in the new year. I went to the Changemaker Forum at the Band Hall on how to embrace diversity and inclusivity for all, regardless of race, gender, and background. The Regional District Board, and I think we have that covered there. The Integrated Regional Transportation Committee, looking at the potential of the multi-use trail and bike road. Also the open house for the Comox Mall, and had a ABCC teleconference this morning for the conference coming next year.
Thank you. Councillor Swift.
Okay, I will be brief. In my role as acting mayor, I was able to light up the town Christmas tree. First go, pushing the button, thanks to the hard work of Sue Wood and John May. I didn't have to follow me through there, so it's good. Also, the Philburg board meeting took place on Monday night, and there's currently a membership drive on, which they're going to close at the end of January. Please consider joining. It's $25, and it supports a great facility and gets you into the festival in 4 days, so it's worth considering. And also as a Christmas gift as well. And there is going to be a significant number of people from the board, the turnover at the board. 5 members are leaving for a variety of reasons. There's no coup attempt going on, but just life is getting in the way of some people. So the nominations committee is working hard at filling those positions. So I thought I would just mention that. And fall open house, and one other event that I attended that hasn't been mentioned was the Broad Street open house to talk about the development proposal for and management.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so thank you for covering those things while I was away. And just to go back a couple weeks, Economic Development Society had a strategic planning session on the 7th of July. It was very productive. Good presentation there, in particular from Innovation Island and Graham Truax on tech development, and we're going to be focusing on their strategic plan and developing some more tech support essentially for local industry that's emerging, and perhaps even having an incubator space. So that's something that we'll be working on a going forward basis. On the Coastal Economic Trust, we had a board meeting as well as some strategic planning on that. I helped light the Christmas tree in Courtenay and attended the fire rescue banquet and also the Christmas parade in Courtenay on a very rainy, blustery day. That it was reasonably well attended. National Child Day breakfast is referenced, and our own strategic planning session, and the AED program at the Highland. And Christmas season is underway, so BC Salmon Farmers as well as Central Builders, 2 events I went the last couple of days, and we had a board meeting for the Economic Development Society yesterday. And just a reminder for tomorrow at 11 at 8 Wing, there will be details on the fixed wing search and rescue announcement that's being made tomorrow in Trent. So there will be an email, I think everyone's going to get that to attend that if you wish. And that is my report. So we move back to the agenda. Any questions from the media? Any questions from the members of the public? So we do have a in-camera meeting to follow, so a motion to include public under section 90C of the Clean Charter.
Second.
Excuse me, I forgot to say thank you to the council for our work.
That's okay. You're welcome.
And thank you, Kiana, glad you went up and down the driveway several times, so I totally missed you.
You just imagine each one of you going,